I'm Nigel Owens. I'm an international rugby referee. You might know me for my no-nonsense approach on the pitch.
Christopher? Thank you. I don't think we met before, but I'm the referee on this field, not you.
But what you might not know is I've had the eating disorder bulimia for more than 20 years. Tonight on Panorama, we reveal the growing number of men and boys battling eating disorders.
If skin goes over the top of my trousers, I feel that's fat. I feel that shouldn't be there.
It's not just girls affected by body image.
Being bombarded by social media with images of just ripped men, that's what sort of drove me to it, I guess.
And they can claim lives. This 20-year-old died after battling eating disorders for most of his teenage years.
I think with adequate care, Stephen would be alive today, and I think he would have been living quite a healthy life.
It's time to break the silence on a growing problem for British men.
I've struggled with an eating disorder for over half my life. It's a very secretive illness. Men in particular find it very difficult to talk about it, but thankfully, more and more are coming forward.
I've never really understood why this illness has blighted my life and the lives of so many others.
It can hit at any time, and it doesn't discriminate.
James is 25. He has anorexia nervosa, a serious mental illness where someone tries to keep their weight as low as possible by restricting the amount of food they eat.
James, how's it going?
Yeah,
you all right?
Yeah, not bad, thanks.
Banging away well, eh?
Yes,
Huh?
nice and loud, yeah.
You have a pair of those I can borrow of you for my ears?
Yeah, I got
Oh, yeah?
plenty of them.
Right, James, tell me, what is your anorexia like now?
Even though, like, my body's saying no, stop. My head's saying, go, 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 keep on going. A lot of people say that that voice is not real, but it is. It is.
You, it is, yeah.
It's me. You can't have an hour or even 10 minutes without it, because it's
constantly there.
It's constant, and you're battling yourself all day. So, and it's very self-destructive as well.
Is it there now?
Yeah.
What's it telling you now?
It wants to strip you of everything, and one of the main dark things I'm going to say is the actual goal of it is to take everything from you and to eventually kill you. If skin goes over the top of my trousers, I feel that's fat. That's fat. I feel that shouldn't be there.
James lives in Merthyr Tydfil. At home, he checks himself constantly in the mirror.
If your face looks sunk in and bony, which, looking at mine at the moment, it doesn't look sunk in, it doesn't look bony. But if it is sunk in or bony, that is the look. I'd rather be looking for that.
As a teenager, James weighed almost 19 stone. At university, he went on a diet. He ended up in the local paper.
Student slimmer shed 7 stone in a year without any help from the diet industry.
But his weight loss soon got out of control. James had to suspend his studies and return home. That was the start of his eating disorder.
It kind of makes me sick in a way, because it kind of makes me feel like what's happened is I've restricted my eating, but that restriction has become obsession and led into anorexia.
Anorexia has serious consequences. It can lead to depression, brittle bones, and even heart failure.
I couldn't walk up the stairs because I felt weaker. I felt frailer as well, and I could feel some of my bones sticking out.
James's weight kept plummeting. It reached dangerously low levels. At first, he got psychiatric treatment, but now he only sees a dietitian. He's struggling to manage the condition on his own.
Calorie amount.
So what is it like to try and deal with anorexia, with this voice in your head every day? James is going to keep a video diary to show us the reality of life with an eating disorder.
I think this morning I'm in the mood for the food restriction because my mind is telling me this, and I feel like I have to cut back on my food, and probably that's what I'll end up doing.
It's estimated around 1.6 million people in the UK have an eating disorder, and 400,000 of those are thought to be men. I'm one of those statistics. I grew up in rural Carmarthenshire. Here I am, aged 19. What no one knew at the time was I was struggling with my own sexuality. I was also struggling with depression.
I started realising that the type of person that I was finding attractive was not finding me attractive, or would not find me attractive, because I was fat, I was overweight, a beast in my eyes. I started making myself ill. I wanted to lose weight. So I'd go to the toilet and I'd make myself sick, pretty much not far off every meal, nearly, you know.
I had bulimia. That's when someone tries to control their weight by purging after eating, usually by making themselves sick. For nearly 20 years, it became a way of life for me. But when I was 36, everything changed. My mum was diagnosed with terminal cancer.
And I just cried all day and was thinking about things, and I went to the toilet to make myself sick. And I couldn't. You know, I stuck my fingers down my throat and nothing would come up.
I think seeing what my mother went through made me stop. After years of bulimia, it seemed like I'd finally got control.
We do also have pretty good information on the website about
The UK's largest eating disorder charity is BEAT. Its advice centre here in Warrington receives 20,000 calls a year. Around a fifth are from men and boys.
You're not on your own, and we're here to support you in the best way we can.
I've never asked for help for my eating disorder, but more men and boys are now coming forward, albeit slowly.
It's definitely the case that men and boys are not seeking help as readily. Many of them don't want to be seen as suffering from what is perceived as a girl's problem or a women's problem. Their parents aren't looking for an eating disorder. If they get to the GP might not be looking for an eating disorder. So it might be diagnosed as something else. That allows the eating disorder to get ever more in control, and that makes it much harder for the treatments to work when they finally get into treatment.
Like I said, encourage you to just try that different therapy and see how that goes, and obviously let us know if you need any further support.
Some of the things that were coming in there, I was looking, was being written down, and I was thinking, that's exactly how I was, exactly, you know. And that's what I needed 25 years ago, was something like BEAT like this.
We wanted to find out the scale of the problem across the UK. So we asked every mental health trust and board how many men were referred to eating disorder services for a first assessment. From those that responded, we discovered that in 2016 there were 871 referrals, an increase from 2014 of 43%. Our research also revealed that from those that responded, more than 2,500 youngsters, both boys and girls, received help, a rise of 42% over the last 2 years. This 14-year-old lives with his parents and younger sister in South Wales. He's just come out of hospital where he was being treated for anorexia.
You okay? Yeah.
You good?
Yeah, nice to meet you.
And nice to meet you as well.
Would you like to come in?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Eating disorders can develop at any age, but the risk is highest for young people between 13 and 17.
I'd always had this idea of the body that I wanted, probably because of stuff I saw on social media. And
when you say the body you wanted, because you were looking at sports people,
yeah,
or you wanted to look like that?
Yeah. I started exercising even more than I previously had, so I was doing stuff in the house as well as...
So you're getting obsessed with exercise and stuff as well?
Yeah.
So I noticed the back of the neck was getting very scrawny.
So was he hiding it from you then, really, was he?
Yeah, I think he was hiding it from me, and then his behaviour just got more and more weird. He started doing star jumps. He wouldn't sit down, he was standing up all the time. I probably didn't realise he was just concentrating all day on food and exercise. That was all he was thinking about day and night, I think.
She took her son to the doctors. 11 days later, he was in hospital.
The night he went into hospital, I can remember it was a horrible wet February night, and he was kick jumping into the hospital. He couldn't walk normally, he was just kick jumping.
As he was being monitored, his heart rate dropped so low, he was at risk of cardiac arrest. He was discharged in February after nearly 3 weeks in hospital.
You get the onions, I'll get the peppers out the fridge, yeah?
His family thought he was improving, but a few days later, they found chocolate and yogurts in the bathroom bin.
What I've been doing was hiding them, and then sort of found some of the food that I've been hiding, yeah.
We thought we were keeping a close eye on him, watching him after he'd eaten all his food, because that's the plan. But obviously, they get very deceptive with this illness, and he managed to hide some food, didn't you?
Yeah, but I felt like people were intruding into my life and it was none of their business, and I didn't understand why they were I was being forced to put on weight.
He had to go back to hospital before being admitted to a children and young people's mental health ward, where he stayed for 9 weeks.
Oh, a wooden spoon now.
He finally came home in May. He's now receiving weekly therapy through a support worker, but his family say he has yet to see a dietitian. According to NICE guidelines, children with anorexia should be offered supplementary dietary advice.
God, he's brave, 14 years of age, to be able to speak about what he's been through. That's very, very brave. I don't think I could have done that at 14 years of age.
So how long do people have to wait for treatment? We asked every mental health trust and board in the UK. We discovered that average waits for treatment for both males and females vary from 1 week to 28 weeks, with some patients waiting almost a year.
All of that time, the clock's ticking. The illness is getting its claws into the sufferer. The treatments are mostly talking therapies. And in those early days, they're much more likely to work, to be successful, than they are if you leave it a very long time.
Back in South Wales, James Mannion says he's been asking for talking therapy for more than 2 years. In the meantime, his anorexia is taking control again. It's telling him to over-exercise.
Just been on my run, I did a lot more than what I was supposed to do. And on my run, I was thinking about my next meal and what I'm planning, and my mind was telling me to restrict and hold back, when I know really what I should be having. I should be having a substantial meal.
The health board in charge of both James's and the 14-year-old's care, Cwm Taf, says that while it can't comment on individuals, its priority is to provide the best possible care for children and adults with eating disorders. Many of the young lads I've spoken to with anorexia seem to have been obsessed with exercise. But for me, it's my job. Being a rugby ref means I have to keep up on the pitch with athletes half my age. So I'm under huge pressure to maintain my fitness. And my eating disorder has been a big part of that. Today I'm in Dublin to referee the Pro 12 final.
Thanks, Nigel. You're a legend.
I've always spoken about bulimia like it's in my past, but actually that's not quite true. It returned as I approached the pinnacle of my career, refereeing the World Cup final.
It started sneaking back probably a little bit just before the World Cup. I was under huge pressure now to reach certain fitness levels, and the fitness levels are very high. So I sort of made myself sick a couple of times as well, leading up to sort of the fitness testing and stuff like that. After the World Cup final, for the next year, you're just, in cloud cuckoo land, really. So I started seeing myself, putting some weight on. I was looking in the mirror, oh, damn, and then, I'll get rid of this quite quickly now. And then the bulimia came back. Could be twice a week, 1 week, and then nothing for months and months. I know it's not the right way to lose weight, and I know it makes you more harm than good. But why I still do it from time to time, I don't know.
It's a question I've avoided for most of my life, but I know now I need to face up to it. Could it be the pressure of being a professional sportsman? Research shows that male elite athletes are 16 times more likely to develop an eating disorder in comparison to non-athletes. Boxer Bradley Price is a case in point. Like me, he's made himself sick to lose weight.
Safe to come in here?
Yeah, how's it going?
How's it going over here, everyone?
Good? Yeah, good.
You had a bit hard on you?
Bradley from Cwm Carn in South Wales won the Commonwealth Light middleweight title in 2006. A decade later, he can still pack quite a punch.
If he misses this, I'm gone.
8 years ago, he was training to defend his title.
I had to get down to the 11 stone mark. I got lazy, didn't train the way I was supposed to, and my weight was kind of not coming down. So I decided to start making myself sick just to make the weight, and everything I was eating I was bringing up. Everyone assumed I was training hard in the gym.
So you hid it then, really, in one way?
Yeah. When I made weight on the way in, I got on the scales and my legs were literally buckling underneath me. I had a job to stand straight on the scales. And when I got off the scales, I knew the fight was lost then, pretty much. I thought, I've got nothing in me.
Bradley was knocked out in round 3 and lost his Commonwealth title, which he blames on his eating disorder.
Kind of ruined my career, to be honest, losing that fight. If I won that fight, I would have kept doing it.
Bradley is still competing and has to lose 3 pounds before a fight on the weekend.
And you haven't done it since?
I have done it since, yes.
Oh, you have you?
Not extreme as I done it for that fight, but like leading up to a fight, when you can't have any fluid or anything.
Yeah.
I have grabbed a bottle of pop and drunk it and then brought it back up. People now still find it hard to believe that I had to put my fingers down my throat to make myself sick.
I know how Bradley feels. That temptation is always there for me too. I've had bulimia for most of my adult life, and in the back of my mind, I'm constantly aware that it could come back at any time. But I've never thought about the damage it might be doing to my body. Cambridge University student James Downs survived anorexia as a teenager, but then developed severe bulimia, which has left its scars.
I can show you my room.
I caught up with 27-year-old James at his parents' home in Cardiff.
Yeah, it's also quite messy. I would bring all the food up here in the night. I would feel very distressed quite a lot of the time, and it was only when I was eating that I didn't feel all of that. It was some relief. So I used to eat all the food and then be sick here in large buckets and put them all in the wardrobes so that you could, yeah. And then the next day when somebody was out, I could clean it up, and there would be, overflowing with sick, and it's just sort of, my room would smell.
James looks healthy to me, and that's the problem with an illness like bulimia. The damage can remain hidden.
Like I have to take medication for my stomach because I still get a lot of acid and
still
things.
take that now?
Yeah, but it definitely has an impact, and like my front teeth aren't my own and they have to be replaced.
And that is because of you making yourself...
Yeah, I was sick so much that the nerves were hanging out of my teeth.
And that's because of the acid and stuff in your stomach when you make yourself ill, that then sort of eats away at your teeth apparently,
yeah, it does, yeah.
James is back at university and is focusing on his recovery. He's had help in the past, but despite the severe physical symptoms, he's struggling to get more treatment from his local health trust.
I went to the GP and asked if there was any support available, and they referred me to the adult eating disorder service. Unfortunately, they didn't even offer me an assessment.
The referral wasn't accepted because James was within a normal weight range.
I was very disappointed because, as well as the bulimia, I find it hard to manage how much I exercise, and those kind of anxieties play a big role in my life.
It was unbelievable, really. You know, I thought I'd had it pretty bad with the bulimia, but nothing to compare to what he's been through. I didn't realise people could really have it that bad then, you know.
Cambridgeshire and Peterborough NHS Foundation Trust Eating Disorder Service told us they can't comment on individuals, but are experiencing severe staff shortages and are only able to accept those with the most urgent need. Time and again, when meeting these young men who've battled with eating disorders, I've heard stories about the struggle to get treatment. Our research has revealed that health trusts and boards across the UK have turned down more than 470 referrals for eating disorders for men and women, for a variety of reasons. Stephen Brazier from Minster in Kent was a fun-loving teenager before his eating disorder took hold.
I started to sort of notice that he wasn't eating. He wouldn't eat with us. And then when he did eat with us, afterwards he would disappear into the bathroom for ages afterwards. He just wouldn't eat for days. And then he would binge, where he'd eat all the desserts or he'd eat a whole loaf of bread. Then afterwards he was full of remorse and was saying, oh, I've got to be sick, you know, I've got to be sick. And in the end he'd be like pleading with you to let him go, to be sick. He had no control over it. It was upsetting because he vanished in front of my eyes, basically. And he just got thinner and thinner, and the spark just went out of him.
His GP referred him to the local eating disorders team, but Stephen continued to deteriorate. His potassium levels became very low, which meant repeated stays in hospital. He was sectioned for a year.
When he was discharged, they said the referral would be taken by the mental health team. They would look after, you know, help him. None of that materialised. And it was just constantly a battle all the time. Nobody wanted to actually do anything then.
Stephen died at home shortly afterwards in February 2014, aged 20. A post-mortem recorded his cause of death as anorexia with bulimia.
I think so many opportunities were missed. With adequate care, Stephen would be alive today, and I think he would have been living quite a healthy life.
Melanie took legal action against Kent and Medway NHS and Social Care Partnership and settled out of court earlier this year. They admit their care wasn't adequate and say they've improved it as a result of learning from the failings in Stephen's case. We wanted to talk to Secretary of State for Health Jeremy Hunt about waiting times for eating disorder treatments. He declined. The Department of Health told us a pathway for adults is being developed and is investing £150 million in children and young people's services and will expect them to be seen within 4 weeks or 1 week if it's urgent. For adults and children in Wales, that waiting time standard is 4 weeks, in Northern Ireland 9 weeks, and in Scotland 18 weeks. This is the Maudsley Hospital in London. Its eating disorders unit for children and young people is renowned for its research and treatment.
Eating disorders are probably the only condition in mental health where actually if you get an eating disorder early, it can lead to a better prognosis provided you get that right treatment. Delaying treatment can make treatment more difficult. There's also good evidence to show that. The longer an eating disorder goes on, the harder it can be to treat. Eating disorders are renowned for actually having the highest mortality out of any psychiatric condition.
Are they?
So more people will die of eating disorders than any other mental health problem.
Over the years, I've spoken openly about my sexuality and depression. But this is the first time I've ever confronted my eating disorder.
And I just come back from Argentina 2 weeks ago where I was making myself sick 3 or 4 times in Argentina because I was eating more food than I needed, and I knew if I eat all this food, you know, I'll make myself ill afterwards. So I've never sought help about it because until speaking to you now, I guess, that I've always felt that I was in control of it. But I'm not, am I?
I would say it's clear that you still have some symptoms and it's still affecting your life. If you haven't really received treatment for an eating disorder, it is that much likely to re-emerge. So I think it would be really good if at some point you could think about maybe getting some help.
Oh, that was a bit of a reality check, really. You know, speaking to Dr. Dan there today was a sort of an acknowledgement, really, that I need to do something about it, really. So I need to sort of sit down and speak to somebody, sort of to try and get rid of it out of my life forever, I guess.
From what I've heard from the people I've met, it's hard to say you've ever fully beaten an eating disorder. But if you're given the tools to stay one step ahead, you do have a chance of recovery. This young man is certainly not out of the woods yet, but he's making a phased return to school, where his friends will be keeping a close eye on him.
Maybe be slightly intrusive, so just check that at lunch I'm eating a bit and that I'm not sort of skipping it, and yeah, I guess that's what you guys could do for me.
If we see you getting skinny again, in your face.
Just let you know before it gets to the state.
Make sure you say something.
James also hopes that with the help of the people around him, he can get back on track with his recovery. But he knows it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, it's going to take time and some battling and fighting, but then the anorexia is not going to be there forever. There is light at the end of the tunnel, I suppose. I know I can get somewhere which I know I can be happy in.
Well, it's been an incredible journey. A strange but an incredible experience as well. And realising how many different types of people from all walks of life, men and boys, that an eating disorder affects. To actually accept that you have an eating disorder or a mental health issue is actually a sign of great, great strength. It's not a sign of weakness at all.
But as I've discovered, it's not always easy to get the help you need when you need it. So the sooner you start talking to people, the better.
Don't be in my situation, 27 years on, and I'm still suffering from it.
If you've been affected by the issues raised in this programme, you can find details of organisations which offer advice and support with eating disorders on the BBC website. Go online to bbc.co.uk/actionline for more information.